some of you were brainwashed. You were brainwashed by trauma, by pressure, by this interrogation. Rather than asking you a question, they interrogated you. They made you feel like you were going to lie if you had space to respond. They made you feel like you were going to be deceitful, or that you were going to find a way to not respond. They made you feel nervous. They created this post-traumatic stress disorder in you. And so they brainwashed you into this compulsion to respond anytime you were questioned. You didn't have the sense of gatekeeper. You didn't have the sense of control over your own information. They made you feel like you didn't have any say over your own information. They made you feel like you didn't have any rights. They made you the scapegoat, the lamb to the slaughter whenever something went wrong. Or if there were family gatherings, then you were trained in what to say and how to say it. And this was a type of brainwashing, because they trained you to save face for the family. They trained you to save face for themselves. They trained you in how to respond, to make it appear as if you came from a healthy background, to make it appear as if they were good to you, and they were not. You couldn't say your piece. You couldn't voice that you were being abused. You were locked within yourself, locked within your mind, locked within your emotions. You were trauma bonded. They made you feel like your truth was locked away somewhere in the recessions of your mind, and like it was a dangerous place to go to, a dangerous area to open up. They made you feel like your life could be lost if you said this thing, if you let out this information. So they trained you, they brainwashed you into responding a certain way, into making like everything's good and putting on a smile even when you were hurting inside. Family gatherings, get-togethers, you had to put on a show and appear as if everything is well and everything is good. You could not let anybody know you're being abused. You're being verbally abused, emotionally abused, neglected, that this person isn't really there for you the way that they make out as they are, that you're not loved the way other children are loved, that you're tossed out to the wolves, that you don't have a sense of security to where you can lay your head or lay your thoughts or lay your emotions, that you don't have someone that you can confide in when you need to, or vent to, or release the pressure of your life to, because your words were of no value. Your life may not have been of any value. Some of you, it is that extreme. I know it was that extreme for me. I felt less than human. For some of you, you were treated as less than human. You felt disassociated from yourself, disconnected from your body, disconnected from your thoughts outside of yourself because of the trauma. It was too painful to be in tune with your own self. And so anytime you were questioned, you felt this compulsion to give a happy response. This compulsion, this brainwashed compulsion to give some kind of a positive response. You could never say your truth. You could never say if you were hurting or if somebody was bothering you or something was bothering you. You could never express what was going on in your life that you were puzzled about or trying to figure out, you couldn't express it. You were brainwashed into keeping your problems to yourself. Your problems didn't mean anything to the rest of the family. It was only their concerns that mattered. It was only their voices that mattered. It was only their feelings that mattered. Whereby your feelings were pushed to the background. Your concerns were pushed aside. Your thoughts, your voice was made to be little. You were soft-spoken, maybe. And for some of you, the interrogation was so horrible. Even for some of the younger boys, maybe your father was so demanding. He demanded that response right away, right away. If you don't respond right now, you felt like you were going to get beaten or hit or ridiculed or condemned or insulted in some way. You felt like your feelings were going to be hurt in some way if you didn't respond right then. For some females, you felt so compelled to respond as if you were going to be seen as a bad person. You were going to be seen as unreliable, untrustworthy if you didn't respond right then. And they put these undue pressures on you and fed off the fear, fed off of the post-traumatic stress disorder that they created in you. Because as long as they could see that you still had that post-traumatic stress disorder and that trained, conditioned response, then they had power over you. They had the leverage over you. They had the say over who you are. And you felt like this helpless, defenseless child. So for some of you, you felt like you did not have the power to say no. You felt like you were wrong in some way for saying no. You were wrong if you didn't help this person every time they requested it. You were somehow the bad person, and they were never the bad person, no matter how abusive they were to you, no matter how much they used you, no matter how they spoke to you or what tone they spoke to you in. They never saw themselves as the bad person. They always felt right to speak that way to you. Some of you were so traumatized that you just felt this compulsion, this distress in your gut that you had to come up with a response. They made you feel like something bad was going to happen if you didn't. And then they gaslit you. Because if you responded wrongly or you tripped over your words, then they gaslit you. Why did you say it this way? Why did you trip over your words? And they treated you like a liar. They treated you like you were being deceitful. They treated you like you were hiding a secret. And as a child, that's scary. And so as an adult, this is the brainwashing, the emotional brainwashing, the emotional response, brainwashed responses that you need to unlearn. You need to know and that you are the gatekeeper of your information. You need to give yourself the empowerment to not respond. Give yourself the empowerment. Take back your power and take a breath and think about the question. Think and question the question. Not just pour information out. And this is what you were brainwashed into doing. You were brainwashed into just pouring out information. And see, there are people, they read people very quickly. They know how to casually siphon information out of people. And they use this information for power. And so rather than you having the power over your own information, now they have power over your information. And now they can use it over you to have leverage over you. You have to unlearn this brainwashed response, this brainwashed compulsion to give an answer. You need to take back your empowerment and know that you don't have to respond, that you don't have to give an answer, that you're in your right and your own authority to not respond. You don't have to feel brainwashed into responding to something, because that's that trained response that you had as a child, because when something was missing, something was broken, something was wrong, they came at you. What happened? Who did this? Was it you? Who did it then? And they made you the messenger that they tortured. You're no longer that tortured messenger. You're no longer that defenseless child. You're no longer that person who has no power over their information and feels this compulsion to just release information out of a safety mechanism, out of a safety to feel safe and sound. You no longer feel that compulsion or compelled to give out that information. You no longer are that physically, emotionally, verbally abused person who feels the need to appease this other person, or who is made to feel responsible for the other person's emotions. You're not responsible for that other person's emotions. You are responsible for taking care of yourself and protecting yourself. You are no longer brainwashed into giving your power away. You are now a new person. You've come into a new birth, spiritual birth, to where you are the gatekeeper of your information. You are the gatekeeper of your power. You don't have to release your power out at the demand of another. You don't have to be responsible for awkward silence, or responsible for how it's going to look if you don't respond, or responsible for what they're going to think of you if you don't have that answer. You're not responsible. This is the brainwashing that you went through that you need to unlearn. You're no longer that person. You are no longer that defenseless, scared child. You're no longer that vulnerable child. You're no longer that person being gaslit into taking blame for something that you were not at fault for, or for being responsible for something that you had nothing to do with. You are a different person. You're in a different frequency, a different energy, a different time zone, a different space now, a different mindset now. So you're unlearning the brainwashed responses, the brainwashed triggers, the brainwashed traumas. You're unlearning all of that. You're letting go of all of that nervous energy, that toxic energy. You're letting it go. And you are becoming the empowered person that the Lord needs you to be. You are becoming the empowered person that you need to be. You are becoming the authority over your own life. For some of you, this seems redundant, but for some who have gone through this kind of trauma, this kind of brainwashing trauma, you needed to hear this. You needed to give yourself permission to not respond. Give yourself permission to think about what's being asked you. Give yourself permission to question the question. Give yourself permission to gatekeep your own heart. Out of the mouth flows the issues of the heart. So you want to be the gatekeeper of your own heart. You don't want to just release that information out and then somebody can torment your heart with it. Become the gatekeeper of your life. And so this is what I wanted to share, that's unlearn this brainwashed response and become empowered over your own life again. And have a blessed day.